Welcome to the Black Belt Business Podcast. My name is Matthew Brenner, and today I'm with James Becker, martial arts entrepreneur, school operator, school salesperson, in terms of selling his business. James, tell us a little bit about your martial arts business background.
Yeah, I've been in the business industry about a little bit 42, 43 years. Been in the martial arts industry. Started out in the early 80s as like we all did, karate or taekwondo back in the 80s. And, then got my black belt and I'm like, hey, this is something I'd want to do for my life. So started, martial arts business, of course, and started that. Then I'm like, hey, there's something I want to do. I want to build something a little bit larger. And I built this organization called USA Martial Arts. I don't know if you know that yet, but I had another organization. 2013, I sold that organization because I wanted to spend a little more time with myself with my wife. Then my wife went and opened and built her organization called Rockstar Martial Arts.
Wait, can I ask about the first one you said, the USA one?
Yep.
So was that a franchise or what was it?
Franchise. It was a gyms that I owned and a couple of them were licensed gyms. I had eight of them.
8 of them. Okay, cool. And who did you sell it to?
A couple that was inside the business that's been with us probably 8 or 9 years. They're in corporate and they wanted to step out of corporate, and they actually played a role in our business already in our leadership program, helping teach in the leadership program. And they just wanted to go, hey, we'd love to get out of corporate. What does this look like? So we started working with them for a couple of years on the business side. And it's something I'm like, hey, look, I'm ready to sell the company, if you guys are interested. And it was an ongoing conversation for about a year. We finally sold it in 2013. And my wife opened her company in 2014.
So can I ask about the sale of the company? Is that okay?
Absolutely. Yeah.
How did you structure the sale of 8 locations with someone who's not, they might have been your leadership team and maybe they're in corporate America or business executives, so they understand business, but how did you structure a deal for them transferring or buying your school?
Well, one, they had a lot of money in savings, so they've got to pay probably 60% of it up front, and it was, it was a 7-figure deal of doing it. And all the team was going to stay in place because they were already there. The people were there. They knew them already. And then they paid a little bit over, the next 5 or 6 years, they paid us off on that. The other schools stayed under USA for a while. Then they started breaking off. They wanted to kind of do their own thing. They switched the name, did their own thing. But the corporate school that I opened probably, I don't know, maybe 30 years ago, it's still there. It's still called USA Martial Arts. It's still in Plano, Texas.
Very cool. So you got 60% up front and the rest you got paid off over time.
Got paid off
That's
over
good.
time.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who work in the martial arts industry that want to sell their school and they just say some crazy number and no one actually wants to buy it because it doesn't run itself. It's just like, the owner usually runs it and they're trying to sell it. And it's like, okay, well, who's going to run it? Like, I'm not buying your school for $500K, so I could now run your school. And they're always like wrong about how many active students they have or what their expenses are, and they never really know. So was that like a learning experience for you even? Like, obviously you had 8 schools, so you had to have tight operations, but in terms of like valuing the business and selling it to people who are from...
Picked on a lot of minds at that point in time too, is not just inside the industry, but outside the martial arts industry. The people that sold larger businesses and that, and they're going, this is how you're going to structure it. We did pretty much 4 times net profits is how we look
4
at
times net.
4 times net. So the gyms we sell now, we open them and we build them up, we sell them. That's what we're looking at. So we try to get the gym built up to a $450, $500,000 a year company. At that point in time, we'll do it 4 times net profits.
Okay, cool. Can I ask how much you sold it for?
Yeah, a little bit over $1 million. That was just that one gym. Then we had licensed gyms too. We sold those contracts off also.
Okay, wait. So I thought it was 8 gyms.
It was 8, but we had a corporate gym. A couple of them were licensed gyms, and the other were people that bought into the license and paid me up front for the license of the gym. Yeah. So we're all over the board.
So they bought the main corporate gym, or they bought the license also?
They bought the gym. They didn't want the licensed gyms. They just want those
got it.
Be up and still be in the family, and I'd still run meetings for them and stuff.
That's awesome.
They did not want. They just wanted that corporate gym that was doing really well.
So when you got that chunk of money, 60% of it about,
Yeah.
Did you invest that right away, or did you, buy a condo in Miami or something? Or
No, didn't do that yet. Something me and my wife are, we've been avid savers for 30, 40 years. We're very frugal people. We spend money. If we're going to spend it, we're going to spend it on experiences more than anything. But no, I saved it. It sat there for about 2 years and just sat there and didn't really do much with it. Then start buying, a lot more real estate because we already bought
Mm,
some real estate. So we bought another piece of property, then bought another piece of property, and still have those properties. Now they're rental properties.
cool,
Yeah,
cool. And then when you went through that process of selling, did you get an attorney for all the paperwork for all that?
we did. And we had an attorney that I've been working with all the license schools with. It was very important how we structured it properly for tax purposes, also how it was structured properly. We're set up and all our companies, obviously, I'm sure you are also, we don't own any of the companies. Our trust owns the companies and stuff. So it was a sale of a company, to their LLC.
Mm,
So, yeah, I stayed out. I stayed out of the lawyers and accounting thing, did an audit of the school and everything just to see the real numbers of it for the last 4 to 5 years. So they knew they're exactly getting, what we said they were getting, so we kept our books pretty clean. We never try to do our books ourselves. We always have an accounting firm that takes care of our
mm.
business.
So were you scared to sell, or were you excited to get out of it? Were you like, "Oh, this is awesome," or nervous about it?
What, having 8 gyms, something I reached to a point where I was spending more time in the business side of it, which I really didn't enjoy. I enjoyed the training of the martial arts. The business side, I like it, but I'm sure you did, as well as I did. It's like there's time to just go, man, it's very difficult going through some of the things to go through, and you don't see one gym perform like another gym. You start questioning your ability, like why is this gym doing 20,000 a month and this gym over here is doing $55,000 a month?
Yeah.
So that hard to balancing that. So when I sold it, it was really it was a breath of fresh air. I literally wanted to take a little bit of time off, about a year, and go, I'm going to relax a little bit. And my wife is quite younger than me, and she's like, well, I'm young. I don't want to do that yet. And I'm like, well, what do you want to do? She's like, well, I'd like to do what you done, but I want to do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that didn't turn out well the first day when she said that. She's like, I want to build a boutique thing that moms will love and a very high end luxury area and really cater to the moms and kids. I'm like, I don't agree with that. I don't think you should. And she
Why
did
didn't
as
you
a
agree with that? Wait, why didn't
successful.
you agree with that?
I knew the heartache and building an organization and stuff, and she wanted to go on the franchise and build these 150, 200 units. And I'm like, I just don't know if I'm going to sign up for that deal. Um, but of course, I did because I supported her.
Yeah.
I was back into it again, and she built the Rockstar, and literally the first year she built it, it literally blew up. I was amazed. The new system she created, how she created the leadership team, how she trained her staff. I'm like, wow. Um, I guess I taught you well, right? But she was actually doing it better. Her gym was running better numbers within a year and a half than it took me to get almost 8 to 9 years to.
Wow.
So amazed of what she did in this gym. Then she had so many people coming to her wanting the Rockstar model. And I'm like, you got to franchise it. And that's when we started franchising the Rockstar model at that point in time.
So were you nervous about getting into business with your wife or doing that, mixing up all the
No,
finances?
my corporate gym, when I was in my corporate gym, I brought her in there. I think she worked there for a couple of years first inside the office. So she really got the what it's about, running. I was a mat person, she was the office person. And all our businesses we do now, we have multiple businesses. We're involved every day having conversations, from the financial part to having conversations with, whatever it is. We love that. We're the yin and yang, so we work perfect together,
Mm.
which was very rare out there, but we love working with each other. We love spending time with each other. Pretty much we're together 24/7. Again, it's a rare thing, but we love that time we spend together, and we can have those conversations about business.
What do you do well that you think helps her and vice versa? Like, how do you fit in with each other and when it comes to running the businesses? Or how do you complement
Wow,
each other?
good question. I think I'm a vision caster. So I think of what things should look like. She's an implementation person. So she can take my vision and go, James, here's what this is going to look like. And here's what it's not going to work. So we're going to throw that part out. So I'll come up with these crazy ideas with systems or marketing or something like that. And she's like, that's not going to work because of this reason. Right. So I think we really balance each other on that part, is because when she puts systems in place, they're very simplistic and they're very, let's get it done. Let's train the people on them and do it. I'm not that great at doing that. I'm great at creating those systems and creating that vision and what it's going to look like 5 or 10 years from now. But implement it and putting it to everyday use and making it work and functional, she's brilliant at it.
So she does a lot of the operation side, it sounds like.
She does. She trains all the managers and all the franchise people on that side. I train all the coaches on the mat side and stuff like that. Yeah.
See, I think I'm a little bit different than you in that way, because I like the business side. And as much as I love teaching martial arts, like I just felt like in terms of daily, I didn't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy having the business conversations. And now I've kind of like, okay, so I ran businesses of martial arts, sold my main school, still have a couple others, but they're less bandwidth, right? Less on my bandwidth. And now I just talk to martial arts school owners, which is like my favorite conversations. Like I actually enjoy it, whether it's on the podcast or clients for W Dojo, where I teach martial arts school owners how to grow their schools organically, like without relying on ads. It is so much more fun. I just love it. I think it's like the evolving of my career. It's like, okay, I had a school as a teacher. Okay, cool. Then as an owner. And now it's like, okay, now I help other owners. And, a lot of people try to skip steps, I think, where they just go from, to try to help school owners and they actually have no experience and how to do it, which is good for me, because then they, people have bad experiences with them and they want to talk to someone who actually owns schools and actually does the stuff they're talking about. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. Also, like if I talk to a martial arts school owner and they pure honesty, and they don't do what I tell them to do, doesn't really affect me whatsoever. Right. Like they still pay me. Right. But if I tell my staff what to do and they don't do it, I'm paying them and they don't do it. I'm like losing twice. And I want to, smash my head against a wall. So
look, I enjoy the part having the conversation. I have like a mentor program that I do. It's like kind of a private thing. I work with some people out there, but I don't want to be in the business every day, signing the students up and be involved. I love having the conversation and training that next generation to be prepared, find out what's out there. And here's what we did, is don't go back and make the same mistake again. I enjoy those conversations. I enjoy it. But being in the gym every single day, I do not enjoy being inside a gym every single day. Unless it's
plus it's what? I'm sorry.
It's training. I love to train. I still train.
Yeah, training is for sure is great. So do you train at like a school near you now, or
I do
one of your schools?
I trained jiu-jitsu at a place called Fight Sport. I trained my jiu-jitsu there. Now I'm back here. I train with my guys. My professor is Carlos Machado, so I go train with him quite a bit now. So I get the best of both worlds of both places.
That's awesome. Yeah, like one of the best things I did for myself is I was at a martial arts supply store, and I was buying like 100 swords or something, right? Like the foam ones for kids. And some guy comes up to me and he's like, "Why are you buying all these swords?" And I was like, "Oh, we have like a weapons clinic, and they're gonna, it's for kids, so they can't have like real swords." And he's like, "You ever think about doing jujitsu?" I was like, "I have thought about it actually. So you should come to my school." And that was like 5 years ago.
Oh, really?
And I'm so happy I went in there and feel like a white belt again. I have my blue belt now. I would say I'm a low level blue belt at best. But I'm so happy I did that, because it just expanded my martial arts knowledge so much. It gave me so much appreciation, because I grew up doing karate. Like Kempo karate is what I grew up doing, right?
I
did. What did you start with?
I started with Taekwondo, then moved into American karate.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty similar, right? And it's just a totally different feeling when you go from that to jujitsu. It's like, I thought I was going to be good at it. Like, oh yeah, I have martial arts background. Like, I'm going to be pretty good. And it's like, I was not any better than the average person in that room. So,
it's a learning experience today. I took my black belt off and put a white belt on. I was at the Gracie School in Torrance, California. And I'm like, what belt should I wear? He's like, train whatever belt you want. I'm like, I don't know, I think I'll put a white belt on,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
not in training. And literally, I tapped, I think, like 50 or 60 times to another white belt. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, the black belt's going to come off. I'm going to start understanding what the ground looks like now, so
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
the 90s.
I had someone, this is embarrassing. I don't think I ever said this publicly, but I actually had someone, so I was training for a while, maybe like, I don't know, when I say a while, like 8 to 10 months or something. So I'm used to getting smashed like all day. Right. But then I trained with someone who was a black belt who hadn't trained in a while. I think he was like injured. Maybe he was out for like 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
And we started rolling, and he tapped me out like 15 times in like a minute or a minute and a half or something.
Yeah.
And like I got so mad and frustrated that I cried. I literally, like, tears are coming down my face. And I was probably, I don't know, like 25, 26, something like
Yeah.
that. And it wasn't that I was mad at myself. I was annoyed at that person. I'm like, dude, like let me play the game here. Like, stop tapping me every 5 seconds. Like, let me play. Right.
Yeah.
And like he like saw what happened to me, and I got upset. And then he like couldn't have been more apologetic, called me, the next day and apologized. Like, hey, I hadn't been doing it in a while. And I got excited. And I'm like, yeah, man, like I'm new at this. It's like, imagine like Shaq like dunking on a second grader over and over and over and over, right? Like, dude, like let me play it, let me play,
Humbling.
Um,
It's very humbling. That's why I love it.
so humbling.
Very humbling.
Uh,
Still
what
very.
what belt are you?
I'm a black belt. I'm a four-stripe black belt.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Um, So I saw your school's also or Rockstar. They have jujitsu classes. I have to fight the older kids and stuff like that.
We're strictly jiu-jitsu school. Yeah, we're
Oh, okay.
strict 85% kids, 15% adults, but we're really focused on strictly jiu-jitsu. We have a stand-up program, which is Muay Thai too, in a couple of the gyms, but not a big program. But our really focus is jiu-jitsu in those schools for sure.
Very cool. Do you? So tell me about the boutique model, because I know that that's what your wife moved into for Rockstar Martial Arts. So how was that different than what you were doing before?
So a little bit different. I think I was the old kind of karate guy that wanted the blood guts kind of karate school, right? That we all do and start out and how we learned. And, she went in from the color of the business for it to be about 1,500 square feet at the top, from the smell, from the look, everything. She worked with a company to get this look and this smell, and from the demographics where she's going to put the gyms at. So when she laid out her first gym, it was absolutely, it's a beautiful gym. First time I've ever seen a gym look like this. I'm like, doesn't look like a martial arts gym. Not a big screen TV and floors and marble on the front. The thing is very beautiful, right? Even smelled good, which is very rare, in martial
Mm,
arts. But it
yeah.
was very boutique, and she marketed, the marketing company that we used at the time really focused on marketing to the moms and the kids. That's it. No adults, no nothing. Then she brought into the family program, and the adult program blew up also but it was mainly the moms and dads. It wasn't people coming in, just outside the door. So really that 3 mile radius where she opened that school, she was very involved with the schools, very involved with the community. She exposed herself out there as being a woman in a business that owns a martial arts school, which was
Hmm.
very rare. So she kind of took that niche from it, and they really marketed her out there and did a lot of PR stuff in the community. Also, we had big news channels picked us up and stuff. So really, she brought herself in as a woman, which in a community where the women usually are there enrolling the children. It's not the dads. The dads are in corporate and they're working, they're gone for weeks at a time. So she hit the market perfect. And it was very easy for her to get into the elementary schools and get involved in the community. And when I saw it, I'm like, I was amazed of how quick, again, the school blew up and how quick she had people at her door wanting a Rockstar gym.
Mm. Did you guys purchase the locations, or were you leasing them?
Lease. They're all in strip
Lease.
centers. What we have here is market streets, Kroger's, Tum Tums. So always anchor next to a grocery store, a high
Always next
traffic.
year. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
always.
How much do you pay per square foot usually in those high end areas?
I tell you, when we started, there were $30 a square foot. We're doing a brand new one right now in an area. It's going to be $40 plus $9 triple net. So pretty much $50 a square foot.
Okay.
We're
I
going
mean,
to
for
do 1,400, 1,300 square feet.
Okay. And I mean, for a prime location, that you don't really have to pay for marketing probably as much because you're right
Zero.
next to a grocery store. Yeah, zero. So you're not even doing Facebook ads or anything like that.
We're never big social media. We do social media, but we've never really had to really get in to do this. You got to do the Facebook ads. You get 99 leads and one show up. We really never got into social media stuff. We do it for branding purposes, but for lead generation, we don't do much social media for lead generation.
So
And
where do you guys get your leads from typically?
usually referrals, Google, and mainly just being in a great location where parents just see you when they go to the grocery store.
Hmm.
That's it. But mainly,
Yeah.
most of them are coming from referrals.
Yeah,
Mainly,
and what I always tell school owners who are looking to open up their first location or second or third is like you spend your money on marketing or you spend your money in the real estate where people just show up because of that's your marketing budget, right? Like goes
they're
into
on
the
real
real
estate
estate.
for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I have a friend that owns a business, and I won't mention his name because his phone would blow up. But he's never been on social media ever. He owns his own building, and he does over $1 million a year in one school. Yeah,
Yeah, that's amazing.
yeah. Never doesn't have a Facebook page, doesn't have an Instagram page, nothing.
Yeah.
His website looks like it was put together in the '80s.
And here's the thing, you don't need is it better to have that stuff? Probably, but you don't need it. Like that's what I always tell school owners. Like,
I don't think so.
yeah, there's plenty of people that do well. If you look up like the top richest people in the world, some of them you'll recognize, but most of them you have no idea who they are because they own like roofing companies or like a box company, right? Like it's not obviously Elon Musk is up there, so you know him, but
Yeah.
uh
Well, something I've noticed of being around, especially once we moved to Miami, is the people in our building, a lot of them are entrepreneurs. They're in their 80s and they sold their companies. Like, you guys on Instagram? He's like, no, we're not on Instagram. It's foolish. We're not on there, So I'm like,
yeah.
oh, so
Yeah, well, moms in high-end areas are probably on Instagram, but I guess if it's next to a
they're the mom
supermarket,
group.
then who cares?
They're in
Yeah,
the mom groups for sure. So we infiltrate
yeah.
the mom groups. That's where they are, and you never want to upset mom in a mom group, right?
No, absolutely. And I think like if you're a martial arts school owner and you're watching this and you want to use Facebook to market, you have to be in your local community Facebook groups. And usually there's a moms of in that community. And the main
Absolutely.
thing is, yeah, and where people get it wrong is they go in there and they try to be like they try to use it to like spam the group for marketing. But
Yeah.
so they'll go in there and say like, "Hey, I run a business. Like, come take a class or something," which is fine. You can probably get away with that once, but if you do it too much, they just find it
Yeah.
annoying, and then
Yep.
they'll just kick you out.
We don't do it. We let our mom speak for us. It's kind of a third party reference marketing. We let them do it for us. We don't need to
Yeah,
do it with the mom in our school. There's inside the Facebook or inside the, Newman Village or whatever it is, the community we're involved in those homes. There's a lot of gated communities around. We get involved in those communities, and
yeah,
they have
cool.
their own little Facebook thing.
Ah, cool. Like
So the mom
there's
gets in, tells everybody.
yeah. I mean, listen, nothing is more powerful than word of mouth, right? If you have a
Very
really good product, people tell everyone about it. If you have a really
Yeah,
bad product, people tell even more people about it.
absolutely. Yeah, you get more people
Yeah,
telling people
yeah.
how it
And
is.
it's like you'll spend all this money on Facebook ads or Google ads, and then you're just advertising a bad product. And it's like, okay, why don't you just focus more on better classes, right?
Yeah.
Or better instructors or your team. And I think if you invest more time and money and effort in your team, like your staff, then
Yeah.
automatically the kids are going to get better, which means automatically that you're going to have more people refer, and that is going to be your marketing. Like your product is your marketing.
Key to infrastructure, you got to put great infrastructure in with great training systems inside your business, right? It's not blasting a bunch of $3 ads out on social media and go, hey man, I got 99 leads, with saying they're going to come and enroll for $1 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
To me, it's not a quality lead. I don't know about you, what your experience has been, but the experience we've had from social media of putting ads out there like that, the quality of the lead is probably dropped like 80%. Instead of the word of mouth or having a mom or working in the mom groups or something like that, or working with the local PTA or local small businesses, right? That's a very powerful lead that comes in, that walks into the school. And I don't know about you and your gyms, but I don't know if you can handle 85 or 85 new students a month.
Yeah, I mean, if you get
Yeah,
100 leads, you're not getting 85 new students in a month. First of all, I don't know anyone that can handle it. Yeah, but
I
like,
know. We neither one
yeah,
of us can, right? But we hear that, right? Like we're like, hey, we're going to get you 99 leads. Like, you know, how are you going to
yeah,
process them on, right? Just need the quality leads to come in, not spend all our time and all of us calling back, or
yeah.
trying to help.
Well, typically the people that come to me for consulting, they're coming to me because they've done Facebook ads, because they've done social media ads, and they've gone through these other companies that promise the world, oh, here's an AI chatbot. It's going to set up lessons for you and answer questions for you. And maybe that stuff will be more impactful in the future. But for right now, it's just not really as effective as it's like overhyped.
I
Uh,
agree.
and yeah, so what I teach them, like I'm like I do one thing. I teach you how to build your martial arts school organically through what I call the Triangle Codex, which is schools, daycares, and businesses. And if you're able to go direct to source, it's like fishing in a well. Like that's where all your students are already swimming. So if you fish
Absolutely.
in a well, they're gonna bite, even if your bait isn't that pretty or that tasty. Like that's where they are.
Yeah.
And that's why people come to me, is because they want that specifically, and they're just tired of throwing money at Facebook ad and praying that like people show up, because half
I,
those leads a lot of times don't speak the same language, or they're from a different area, they don't answer the
yep.
phone. And I'm not
Yep.
saying you shouldn't have that. If you want social media ads, great. Like I pay for social media ads too. It's not like I don't, but I don't
Yep.
depend on them.
Yeah.
Right? You gotta I like
Either.
yeah. Go ahead.
Same thing. Yeah. Same thing.
Uh, I want to ask more about the boutique gym model. Is that cool?
Okay. Go ahead. Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you open one up, because it's like nicer, higher end designed, what's like your usually startup cost for that?
That one, I think we put about $120,000 in. The new ones we're opening up now, we can still get them open for 130, 135 in that area because they're small, is what they
Yeah.
are. Glass off. They don't really take that much to get them open. You got a mat area, you got an office area, and you have a lobby area. So we still can get them open for 130,000.
Okay. And is there certain things that, since you've gone through a bunch of leases now in these high end areas, are there certain things you need to be a part of the lease, or like, someone who's a beginner maybe wouldn't even think of that are important to you?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you want to non-compete if you can possibly get it. And these large shopping centers like Kroger and stuff, sometimes, Target, they're not going to give you that non-compete in there, So, but I feel once you're established, I'm not really worried about my competitors. I think they're more worried about me than I'm worried about them. I don't look at their pricing or anything like that. But definitely, you want to try to put a non-compete in there. If you want to you want to have a billboard out front. You want to make sure you're able to get up on that billboard and them not charging you $600 or $800 a month for that billboard. You want to try
That's a good one.
that also. Um, but otherwise, I have the lawyer that does all my leases for me. We look for that same criteria. We do a finish out. We don't want to pay any rent until the door opens up. It's going to take 90 days to finish it out, or 300 days, whatever it is. We're not going to pay you any rent until this thing gets finished out. Then that 5-year or 10-year lease is going to begin at that point in time.
So do you prefer a 5 year or 10 or 5 year with an option? How do you usually
Like
do it?
5 years in areas that are infrastructure is completely built out in a city, the infrastructure is completely built out and there's going to be no more growth in it, I'll do a 10-year in. But if I see an area that's an up and coming area, I'll do a 5-year in because I don't, they'll only have so much infrastructure built out in that city. And we look for that major highway to come through it and where they run the business off the tollway here in Dallas. That's where we're trying to put it. But we don't know what's going to happen. So we'll do a 5-year there instead of doing a 10-year there.
Mm. And
We
then
want to
you'll sign an agreement. So you'll sign an agreement for, hey, I want free rent until, maybe it's like a vanilla shell, and hey, I want free rent until I'm done all my construction in the inside.
all our construction. We usually get 35, $40 finish out allowance on our units also. And usually once we get our permits, we can finish them out usually 75 days is what it takes us to finish
Mm.
them out. So not
Do you use
long.
the same?
Months before we even get the gym open. Our break even is 89, 90 students. We're going to be up to that 89, 90 students before the door opens up.
Okay. So you do a lot of like pre-sales before.
We pre-sales before, for
Can you
sure.
tell us how you guys do that?
We have a complete manual that we go through for our pre-sales of how we handle all the pre-sales from the tent, from the PR, from getting involved with elementary schools, getting involved with the community and stuff. But that would probably be a whole nother conversation we can have on that part, but I don't mind sharing it all with you if you would like it at all. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like some bullet points. So what do you think are like the most impactful? Do you sell full memberships? Do you sell trials before? How do you guys typically attack it? Even if like
We
a,
do.
bird's
The
eye view.
trial membership, but that trial membership is going to be a 90-day membership. At that point in time, they're going to be upgraded into our memberships. Every kid that comes in our program starts as a bully program. They don't run into the regular martial arts program. So they're introduced to the bully program. It takes about 90 days to go through that program. Then at that point in time, they really learn and understand the bully program. Then we introduce them to the basics of jiu-jitsu, the fundamentals of jiu-jitsu. So they already had the fundamentals before they go into that class already. So we upgrade them into that point in time. Then they move into an 18-month agreement at that point in time.
Okay, so they'll do a bully program, like a 90-day beginner.
90,
How much do you guys sell that for?
usually $225 a month, and it's going to be $325 down.
225. Okay, okay, cool. So when you do pre-sales,
our gyms are too. I have gyms that are in a little bit lesser, stronger community.
Yeah.
It's a little bit higher community. We're going to get 225 to 259 for that program.
Okay, so when you're doing pre-sales, you're selling the bully program.
We're selling the bully program. Yeah, we're going to sell the bully program for 90 days is what we do.
And then do you offer like a discount because before it's open or something? Or you just sell it normal?
We tried thousands of ways. We did the, I forgot what they're called, something where they go in, they do, if you sign up now, the first 50 people get this, first 25 people get this, next 10 people have 2 slots left. That really doesn't work for us of doing that. I think people are kind of numb to that kind of marketing concept. Is we do an ongoing every 2 weeks before the place is finished, we set up a tent and we do an ongoing, being driven through the community, through small business. So we promote and we'll buy maybe coupons at the businesses. They'll promote our come in where you can come in and see the gym, and we'll set tents up out there. A big balloon sets up out there before the gym even opens up. And it's always in a great area. So you're going to get thousands of drive-bys each and every day. And Saturdays, we'll try to do that all the way up until it opens. That's where most of our enrollments are going to be coming in. They're going to pull over and see the big balloon, the big tent. And we give away restaurant gift cards, Starbucks gift cards, everything. And we push that out there through the community. We push it out. We do actually still do mail outs out also to a new community. They work for us for our grand openings.
Like every door direct mail sort of thing?
We do. Yeah, especially for a grand opening and back to school time, we do direct mail during those times. But most of them see it, they drive by and they pull up and we enroll them on the spot in our program.
Yeah. Okay. So do you take payment from them there? Like you have like a Stripe thing?
Yeah. Take payment from them. Yeah, absolutely.
So they'll pay the down payment plus the first month, or you just have them start with the down payment, or how do you do it?
Yeah. And we make sure they leave with something. The t-shirt, the shorts is what they actually get when they enroll into our program. They don't get a gi yet. So they get a t-shirt and they get a pair of shorts, so they get to leave with that. So we keep those. We have our own product line we actually use. So we always keep our shorts, t-shirts, gis in stock.
And then for the school that's like 1,400 or 1,500 square feet, when it's like hitting all the markers, what's the student number at? What's the revenue number at? When it's just like, okay, this is good.
The one that is 1,490 square feet, it's running about 250, 52, 53 students. It's doing low 40s, 43, around there is what it's doing.
What about the worst school? What does the worst school do?
Worst school does 17 a month, and it's in a great area. It's just run the same systems. They just don't follow the system.
They don't always follow the systems. Yeah. I know nothing about that. All of our people follow our systems perfectly. Yeah, they all run their systems perfectly, and they all make the best money in the entire world. No, obviously, you're always going to have, like, what I always tell people, especially when I open up multiple locations, is your students, you're always going to have A, B, and C students, right? The students that are amazing, always show up to class on time, they sign up for everything, they pay tuition on time, Yeah, and they're great. You're gonna have B students that like, are do pretty good. You never, maybe every once in a while they miss a payment, but for the or they miss an event, but they're there most of the time. They're pretty good, and you have C students that don't show up often. Their car gets declined, right? Like maybe like you don't like talking to the parents as much, and walk in, they walk in late. But
Yeah.
it's the same thing when you have multiple schools. You have your A schools, your B schools, and your C schools. Anyone that says they only have A schools, they're just lying about it, right?
There's all our gyms are not running $40,000-$50,000 a month. We have that school that's a struggling and one, and and we actually during COVID we had to shut one of our gyms down. It just opened up and COVID hit. It was
Yeah,
at
bad
like
timing.
60. Literally, we had to shut it down. We
Mm.
had no. That was a hard thing to do. But everybody, no one's running multiple gyms and they don't have a kind of an old dog that's kind of falling back on the pack. All of them do.
So how many locations are there now with you and your wife?
It is 6 locations, and we're getting ready to open our 7th location. But we're structuring them different now. We're not going to do the franchises anymore. What we've seen in the franchise world, we've spent a lot of time with some large companies, large franchise businesses, and it's not something that I don't think me and my wife would enjoy going into the further with the franchise. When we open the gyms now, we're going to own 51%. We're going to sell that other 49% off to the coach after he's been with us 3 years. And it'll be that same thing, that 4 times net profit. Look at it. But we want to get it up and going. We want to invest it. We want control of it because we know what we can do when we open gyms. All the gyms we've opened up personally ourselves and got involved in, they've done extremely well. But the franchise one, it seems like we lose a little bit of that control. And especially if you have a franchise sales team, you lose a lot of your financial part of it also involved, and they want royalties. We just started looking at it and going, this is probably not going to be that in the stage of our life where we're at as something we want to pursue to opening 150 or 200 gyms. Because I saw what it looks like at 6 or 7, and I've spoke with guys what it looked like you said, 20, 30, 40. It's a different animal. Every time
Yeah.
people realize what it takes to get to that next level, to run 5 schools, 10 schools, 15 schools, 20 schools.
Yep.
Each time there's a massive learning curve.
Yeah. And that's really, my brother is the one he's the one that started Action Karate. It's my brother, right?
Yeah.
So I own a couple locations, but he's the founder. He's the one that does the research of like, and obviously like I help him, we talk about it, but he does 99% of that, right? So when he was thinking about doing the franchise route in terms of not just like the ones we have, but like, okay, we want to sell 50 units or 100 units, right? Where it's like, if you really want a successful franchise where you can sell for 8 figures, like you really need to have like hundreds of locations, and or at least you got to sell hundreds of units. Because half of them are not going to open. They're just going to buy it because they have money and they think it's good.
They've got to perform at a level.
Yeah, they got to perform at a certain level. Then you have people who buy it for the wrong reasons. They think they're going to make a ton of money, but then they're not willing to do the work, right? So, yeah, it'll be like a dentist who makes, he makes $400K a year. He's like, oh, I want to own a martial arts business because I like martial arts, but then like they don't know how to run it. They'll want to do it, or don't have the time, right? And then they're mad at you, and then it's a different business. And when you want to sell a lot of franchise units, you become like a franchise salesperson, right? That's your job now. Like your job is, or you hire a company like we talked about, like Fastlane. Fastlane is a company that they're brokers and they will sell the franchise for you. So I guess, and I know a little bit about it, but for people who are listening that don't, like when you go through that process, what does that actually look like? What didn't you like about it?
Wow. One is literally they own you for the rest of your life. Literally. They're going to get royalty fees from you. Here's what I saw in the franchise world is their goal is number one thing is say how many franchises they can sell.
Yeah.
But if something happens to them, the blood's going to be on your hand. It's not going to be on their hand. They're just salespeople. They're going to sell it. You still own the product. So staffing, training, getting the instructors, getting the systems, the everyday running, that's always going to be on you. They're just going to sell the product for you. Plus they're going to take all the royalty. They're going to take, 50% of the royalty fee, and they're going to take 100% of the franchise fee, pretty much, at least 95% of it.
Yep.
When you try to cancel a contract with them, or after the 5 or 10 year contract you're in with them, they're going to go, hey, anything that your schools are still open, we want those royalty fees forever. So they never end. And this is the company working with them. Like, I just don't see that's going to work, for us and our thing. And I know there's a couple of people that's done it and it had a couple, success with it. But I didn't want to get into a situation I thought we could sell hundreds of schools. I really think the system's there to put it. It's a proven system. But where are you going to get 100 coaches from? And the best coaches in this business have to come up underneath you. It's not one to go out and start hiring from other gyms and stuff like that. If you want to build an organization, you better build them underneath you. So you don't have to go out and start hiring from other organizations. They have a totally different culture, how they got brought up. So that's what we saw. We can run a problem. That's what I've heard people have been running a problem with. I think the martial arts business is not meant to be franchised at a higher level.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously been a success story with Premier Martial Arts, Barry Vanover, who's did a great job of doing that. And if that's the route you want to go, like, he's a savage salesperson. He's awesome at what he did, right? And he has so many staff people. He's so good.
Yeah.
You just have to be ready. Just know that, like, you're not a martial arts instructor anymore. You're not a school man. That's just not who you are if that's the route you're going. And that's okay. Absolutely. If that's what you want to do. Just know that that's what you're about to get into.
Yeah.
And, like, man, it's hard to keep the culture when you're just selling to random people, not just like your people.
It really is. What we've found better now is, like, what we've done successfully is we build the schools, we open them up, we put the money up, we put the people, then we sell the schools off to them, right? To the coach that's there. He's put the blood into it. He gets paid well. Now I'm like, okay, now we're going to sell the school to you now. To me, I see a lot better success in that model and I don't mind putting up the money and getting up and going, because that's the most important part anyway, is making sure you build that right culture inside that business. Because if you don't, you're going to run into nightmares down the road if it's not built properly, on bad infrastructure.
Oh, there you go. Froze for a second. All right, we're back. So will you set up a deal with them, like how much you'll buy it for before you open, or is it based on how much revenue there is at that 3 years from now?
We did after the first one we tried that model with. Actually, it was one of those gyms that we opened up, and actually it just blew up. And the first year, I mean, it was already doing low 30s. It was already really cranked up, and they've had a lot of people. It's a great location where you open up. So we set that number at that point in time, going, look, once we get our money back out of this gym, which is we put, say, $120,000 in it. Once we get it back, at that point in time, we're going to sell it to you 4 times net profits in it. So at that point in time, we wrote the contract up. After we got our money back, we've invested into the gym. So then at that point in time, we sell it, and we keep control of it until we get the payments completely all paid. So we still have control of the financial part. They're going to run it. They get P&Ls every single month. They have control of where the money is going to be spent, stuff like that. But we just have control of the finances of it.
Got it. So you're selling the whole school until you get paid until you get paid the agreed upon amount, and then they'll get the rest of it, technically.
Then they're going to get the rest of it, yes.
Oh, okay. So why not hold on to some?
Like when you want to control the finances in them, because of that's a very important part on our step, is making sure, because we don't give it to them and all of a sudden they go, we're not going to market anymore. We're not going to do what actually work. So we're control the finances. We're going to control that. We're going to have your input into it, but I'm going to make sure we continue doing what's made the school successful. And we didn't want to change that, because you see a lot of money coming in. You're like, man, I need a new car. I need a new home. I need a new watch. And all of a sudden, you deplete. We focus on the gym anymore. And
I need a Rolex. I need it. So how much is that typically, like when you have someone buy it, if it's 4 times profit, 4 months profit or something, or 4 times profit of a year?
Last one we sold was 400. I think we sold over 473,000 is what it sold.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And those are the ones we're doing now.
And how long do they pay that off on? Like, how long does it take them?
with that school. So what was good about it, we took the money out of the profits of the school. They don't really pay it back. They do. It's their business, but we take it out of the profits of the school. So every month
Hmm.
we look at the profits of it. We want to make sure they get paid well, and our profit's going to be, let's say, $8,000 or $10,000 a month. So we'll take it out of the profits of the school. They pay us that $10,000 a month until we're paid off. We do not charge interest on that either.
Why not? I'm just curious. Why not just get paid on the percentage of the total revenue and not worry about the expenses? That way they can expense whatever the heck they want.
That's something we looked at. Why we went this way is just one of my mentors going, "Hey, here's how I would structure the deal if you're going to do this." I don't. That's a great question, But we went with this way of doing it, and it seems like right now it's worked out so far of doing it
Cool.
this
That's
way.
great.
But I know,
Do you control their spending? Like, do you look at the? I'm assuming you like see how much you're spending on marketing or
absolutely
anything. Yeah.
we
Okay.
control all that. I mean, if they go, "Hey, there's something going on," we always allow them. If they're going to be marketing or investing in school, new mats, whatever, 100%, don't ever question it. And
Cool.
because we make sure the staff get paid very well. In this case, they're making $147,000 a year is what they make.
That's awesome.
So they
Is
get
that
paid.
one person or multiple people?
That's two people.
Two people. Okay. So they each make 147 or 147 total?
No, 147 total.
Okay.
140.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you might have the highest paid martial arts instructor there is in terms of just just teaching.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
The coach is the major part of it. Now during that time, there's bonuses that pay out too. We'll do $5,000 or $10,000 bonus at the end of the year. We always do vacations for them or something. We'll throw in there also. But they're buying, not that they're not getting paid, they're getting equity into this business every month. Every month they're buying equity in this business. So they're buying something that's going to be worth $700,000-800,000 if they know how to sell this thing properly, and it continues to do what it's doing out there if they want to.
How do you find these people?
These are people came up underneath me, or people I just knew in the world, in the martial arts world. Most of them have come to me and reached out to me, and I just knew, most of them were good people, and I worked with them. And I'm like, that's why I don't really allow any control of the business, until we're paid, until I really see what this is going to look like 3 or 4 years in. But we're trying to completely get paid out of the business within 5 years, 5 to 6 years. This one took us 5.5 years.
Okay, great. That's like the benchmark you look for is like 5.5, 6 years. You want to be paid out.
We want them to sign that new lease. We're off the lease, so we start engaging them. Teach them, hey, don't spend all your money, save it, because the people, they're going to want to see a little bit of money in your bank. You can't show up with $4,000 in the bank and try to sign a lease. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm in a different situation than you, but when I sold my school, originally I had it set up where I got paid a chunk in the beginning and then money over time, right?
Right.
So I still did it like that, but originally I was getting a piece of the profit, but then I was like, wait a minute, if he decides he wants to spend, money on mats or other things, I'm like, I don't want that to affect me in any situation. So in my situation, I was like, I'm going to do the same percentage, but or not the same percentage, a smaller percentage off gross. That way I don't care, and he can spend the money however he wants, and he doesn't have to me being like, why did you spend this? Why did you spend that? So that made more sense for me at the time.
Gotcha. Now, do you put criteria in there what you want the gym to make? And if it doesn't make?
Yeah. But like either way, if it stops making money and he's, stops paying me and school goes to crap, I mean, I'm just shit out of luck. What am I really going to do?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, true.
Like,
that's true.
Yeah. Am I really gonna? First of all, this person's amazing, so I hopefully that never happens. But like, am I really gonna sue anyone and go through? Probably not. Probably not worth my time. No, I'm not going through any of that stuff.
It's just the lease you have to go through for that 5 years or 10 years, whatever you're in.
Yeah, exactly. The lease is the issue, right? So and the liability of the business. So I had to make sure I signed over the LLC to him, and it was his name, no longer my name. So someone, this person does something stupid, and someone sues the business, like, oh, like you're a part equity owner, So I didn't want that either. So I had to make sure I changed that over. Yeah. So I have more questions about you and your wife running the business together. So how do you keep that business relationship healthy as well as your personal relationship? How do you do both?
I would keep, man, that's probably a good question for her. But I tell you what, we talk about finances and business all the time, and we enjoy it. Every morning we're listening, podcasts or something's going on. We're talking about, every month we sit down and go, where we are this month, what's our goal for next month. She enjoys that. We enjoy engaging in that conversation. Now, of course, one day a week is the best day of the week for me, and I sometimes I think for her, it's called date night. And date night, we either go out and have a great restaurant, or we'll cook dinner at home, or whatever it is. That night we'll try to stay out of conversation of any business or anything that we're talking about, our goals or anything like that, and we'll have conversation about us. But otherwise we enjoy it. It's we love to travel. We travel the world a lot. So, our time is spent there. We take our time for ourselves, and we turn our phones off and turn off the social media thing and don't do it. And when it's our time, it's our time. And when it's business time, it's business time. When it's talking about setting goals, it's setting goals time. And it's worked well for us because she was, we've been together 23, 20. I got to look at it. I got to make sure I get this
20
right.
plus something. Got it.
26 years together. Right, yeah. I want to get this one right. 26 years we've been together. So, every couple has those things. And it was when she started her business, I was against of her really going into the business I've been in for so long. And I didn't want her to do it, but that was kind of a hard time. But otherwise than that, very seldom we ever really have a disagreement or something. And if it's so, it's probably about, I don't want to go somewhere it's cold, and she wants to go somewhere it's cold, and I want to go somewhere not really a
I'm
major
not going to Alaska. Forget it.
I don't know how beautiful it is. It's not going to go. I don't care.
I loved Alaska.
I don't want to see the moose.
Yeah.
No. But otherwise not. We like it because I think we're just really tuned in to each other's needs of what needs to happen. And we know what that long-term goal is. And we hit it every year. We surpass it every year. So every year we celebrate going, this is what we've done. This is how many people we've helped. This is the things. And that's what keeps that drive keep going. A lot of people going, I was talking to my professor this morning, Carlos, he's like, I'll never retire. I'm like, I'll never retire either. But there are certain things I don't want to do on a day-to-day basis any longer, right?
Yeah.
I want that free time. I want those conversations of my mentorship that I have with some of the people that we have, and the mentorship that I give with some of the people, just a handful of people I work with. Can I go on and take more people? Of course. Do I want to? No. Our time is very valuable. Our relationship is first.
So how do you keep your business relationships healthy, that not with your wife, but your other staff members or these instructors that you open up schools with? Like, how do you make sure they don't just ditch out in the first 3 months after opening or something?
It's tough. We continue the same thing you do, sir. We have meetings, right? We have Zoom meetings over and over. I try not to preach the business as much because we have the systems in place. We always look at the stats and numbers, and I usually can tell you, here's what's going wrong with the business. If the numbers are being inputted correctly, I can tell you what's happening with the company. Here's some solutions to the problem. But trying to educate them on what this is going to look like in 10 or 20 or 30 years. What's your life going to look like with your wife when you're 50 or 60? Here's some things to put in place financially. I know you say a lot of them right now, money is not important in traveling. And right now they're competing, and that's their big thing. And I'm like, man, those metals you can't change. The landlord doesn't like metals, and they don't care. And banks don't care about metals. Those are for you, and that's it. It's a personal thing. It has nothing to do with. So I really try to really focus on teaching them how to build wealth now. And 20, 30 years, they're going to be set up financially where they'll have enough passive income and they can enjoy this business like we have, because you don't have to do the business anymore, but I enjoy the business. So I continue to do the business because I love being around the people in the martial arts world. I just love it.
Yeah. I kind of feel the same as you, where I feel like I'll never retire. And then again, I'm 33, so maybe I'm just, naive. But I feel like I love working in general and have a purpose. And maybe obviously I'm not gonna want to do the same things I always do now, but I can't imagine me just not being involved in something. Like I don't want to just wake up and sit on the beach. That'll drive me crazy. I need something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I feel different. Maybe it'd be like, oh, grandkids is my life now. So then, but who
Yeah.
knows? For at least now, that's how I feel.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way we feel. I mean, we have two dogs, so that's our kids. So they're getting
Yeah.
treated like our kids. So that's our thing. We take them a walk on the beach every morning. We wake up, we work, we train, and after that, we take them for a long walk, and we'll go for a bike ride or something like that, and come back and have lunch, and we'll start our business stuff for 2 or 3 hours, and we'll shut it off. It shuts off at a certain time. We move on.
Cool.
We don't take any calls or anything, and we do it again the next day. And we enjoy that process of how we do it. But it's
Beautiful.
us first. It's us first before
Yeah.
business, and that works for us.
That's awesome. So, what kind of the opposite end of that? What are some red flags that you look for in the business relationship, with your staff or anyone else you might bring on that you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I got to avoid?
First thing I look at is do they want to be an employee? I don't really look for employees. If they're going to want to be an employee, we're probably not going to be. It's just end of conversation. If you're looking for a job to come in and just work and teach, and you want to go compete and you want to live the good life, and I'm not looking for that kind of guy. If they're wanting to come in and understand the business and build something for their future, I'm looking for a partner that will come in and invest their life into doing this. It's where they could take care of their family in the future. And that's going to be that's kind of people I want to spend my time with. If they're employees or just coaches, I'm not interested in working with those guys at all. So they have to be more involved than just being an employee.
Mm. Tell me about
Yeah.
like a hire you made or partnership that you created that was maybe didn't work out, and like why you think that happened.
I think why it didn't happen, they didn't come from underneath me. They didn't come from I brought them in from out. And they already had kind of a set mind of what things going to look like, how they're going to do their business. And once I put them in the business, I heard these little words like saying, me, I, and I'm like, interesting. It wasn't like part of something. It was like, I built this. I did it all. Without me, this wouldn't be here. I'm like, okay. So I learned from that point in time when I started hearing those things that this person wasn't going to be a team player. They're not going to look at, down the road. So that was my experience with this gentleman. Obviously it doesn't turn out well in that situation because you have to be a team player in this business, especially doing multiple locations. And it's very tough sometimes, I think, when they don't see the vision, what it's going to look like in 10 or 15 years, and they see it's just about me now. How does it benefit me? If it doesn't benefit me, I don't want to be involved. So when I hear the me and I stuff, that's really my ears start kind of perking up a little bit. Then I feel like, okay, this is something that's probably not going to work out in the future.
Yeah, and there's always little signs that will tell you, hey, stay away from this person, like little red flags that sometimes we don't notice until they become giant red flags, right? And then we regret it. I like to share a story that I had with someone who I hired from the outside, and we were looking at some real estate that this person was really interested in real estate, and yes, this person wanted to teach martial arts, but that was also like something that they wanted to do in the future. And I was like, hey, well, I do that now. Happy to bring you along, kind of show you what I'm doing. And I was doing a visit in one of my properties. So I brought this person along. And we're going through the property, and the tenants weren't there. And I turn around and I look, and this person picks up a quarter from the ground. I goes, huh, a quarter. And I go, yeah. And he puts it in his pocket. And I go, huh, that was weird. And I'm just kind of like shocked by the situation. And I didn't really think much about it or say anything at the moment, even though I should have. And I remember thinking to myself, this is going to be a teaching moment, and I'm going to regret not doing or saying anything later. But hopefully this is just nothing and I forget about it. What happens, you think, a year and a half later? Well, that person is taking, retail sales and putting it directly in their pocket, right? That
Yep.
person's doing
Yeah.
shady things in the business, and they showed me that they were going to do that in the beginning. We were at a rental property that was not theirs, and it's only a quarter. Okay, it's easy to overlook, but like, you don't take any money that's not yours. Like, I don't know anyone that would do that. It just shows like that person's moral values, right? Like, you would never pick up a quarter
Absolutely.
at someone else's property, not in a million years, right?
Yeah.
So it was just like so telling. And I'm like, I'm never gonna ignore red flags ever again. Like, I'd rather make that
Yeah.
hard decision early because I already like hired them. Like, okay,
Yeah.
well, I'd rather just have the pain of letting them go now than the pain of dragging it on for a while and finding out issues later, right?
You make those calls. When I made this call to hire this certain person, everybody's like, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't." Even my wife. First time I went like against my wife. Hey, she's like, "I don't. I just get a bad feel." I'm like, "Look, I want to help. This person's got a bad track record. He's got thrown at him. Like that's for a reason why. He's like, you can't help this kid." And I try, but right, that's what we do in this industry, right? That's something we do. Where I think you see some of the biggest guys from Mastercard, man, they've helped so much. What they've done in this industry over the years and stuff. They've helped so many people, right? So I see that in this industry. It's still a lot of people want to give, 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 give. You just got to watch what the information some people are giving you sometimes because we don't know if it's going to benefit them or if it's going to benefit you. So,
Mm-hmm.
I still see that, out there. Some of the older guys, man, there's I'm still the Kovars, the Master Clarks, and the Von Schmellings, man. They're going to speak what it is, and they've got a track record to prove what they've built, over the
Mm-hmm.
past 30, 40, 50 years. So the track record speaks for itself, what they've done out
Mm-hmm.
there. So but you'll see a lot of stuff out there. I try to. I'll say I don't really, follow much anymore. I've great mentors. I think when I started growing, um, I grew out of the industry. I think on mentorship, I started looking outside of the martial arts industry for more mentors.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and once I started doing that, because we got involved with real estate. And once we started doing that, we felt we expanded tremendously. And it really helped our business also, how we're structuring our business, how we looked at going, hey, we're going to buy, the business makes the money, we take the money and it buys real estate. That's what it does. That's the whole purpose for the last 20 years, for us. But we had to reach outside the industry because a lot of people were not doing that. Some people were buying their gyms and buying the land and stuff like that. Very few, though, we found. So when we started reaching out, we started getting more in the residential, buying luxury residential properties. We had no clue. I read a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which literally changed my life. Literally, I read it. I'm like, oh my God. It was a turning point in my life when I read that. So luckily I read it when it came out years and years and years ago. I don't know if you're born yet.
Mm. I mean, I've read the book, but I don't know when it came out. Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah. I've read Rich Dad Poor Dad a bunch of times. Yeah.
but it was a great book, and it changed my life, how I looked at things, and I knew I wanted to be involved heavily in real estate, residential real estate at that point in time.
Why did you choose luxury residential real estate as opposed to, I don't know, Section 8 or regular apartments or something?
I started out. I had a friend that did, multi-unit apartments and stuff like that. It just didn't. I hate giving my money to someone and them going, "Hey, we're going to make 6 or 8 or 10 or 20%." I was more like,
Yeah.
I know I want something I can touch and feel myself. I started out with something small. I think my first unit I bought was in Miami, maybe 2011, 2010. I think I paid $300,000 for it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Then bought another. We flipped it, bought another one, and upped it up and up and up and kept up and up. But the luxury real estate, I think, even when markets go really, really bad, doesn't hurt those people that are 10 million, 20 million, 30 million up. It's going to hurt the people in the lower end, right? And those are the people we wanted to rent to, not the people that were, I don't want to say, lower end, but we want a higher end clientele, net worth at least 5 million and up, minimum.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're not going to be as maybe affected financially from economic conditions.
Down Yeah, downturn. And it was easier, and then it's in that formula I followed, got it from my mentor. And I've always followed up, bought the luxury real estate. And since this day, we've never had issues with any of the properties whatsoever of payments or anything. So been very lucky on that part.
So who's your real estate like business mentor? Is there a book that you like suggest?
It was a book. Then it was just when I started meeting, different people out there, a lot of brokers I've spoke with and stuff, but I've really learned probably majority of it is probably from reading books, majority of it. Then I reach out and I have a couple guys down in Miami I talk to, and they have, 120 million dollars in real estate, so I pretty much would follow their advice because they're doing something right. When I see that much real estate involved in their portfolio, and we're a big avid person of, I know a lot of people like debt. We're not big debt people. We don't like debt. We like to own our properties. I don't like to lien them. I don't like to HELOC the properties or anything. We like to own them in cash flow. Like, well, you have all that money set in the property. We do, but we like it. We're comfortable. Downturn, nothing bad happens. But if you put 5% down, there's a downturn and your tenant leaves, that's a problem. And I see a lot of these, I'm sure you've witnessed too. Let me show you how to buy a $500,000 property with no money down. That's a train wreck waiting to happen, I think.
Yeah.
When I see that.
You're absolutely right. And like, if that's someone's model and they want to run it, great. It's just like the question is, can you sleep at night? Right. Or yeah. I definitely prefer. Go ahead.
Being debt, my wife has a little bit more pain tolerance on that side. She's like, hey, we should and buy more properties. I'm like, nope, I want to sleep well. I like no one goes bad. It's easy to sell the property, or the tenant doesn't pay for 3 or 4 or 5 months. It's okay. We own the property. It's okay.
Yeah. So thank you so much for doing this and getting on here. If someone wanted to reach out to you and maybe have a question or want to say what's up or connect, how do they find you?
Absolutely. You can find me on email is going to be James Becker, Boecker @gmail.com. Or you can find me on Facebook, of course. I'm on there. And on Instagram, it's Becker James at Instagram. So
cool.
Those 3 places you can find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on here. And if you're listening to this and you're a martial arts school owner, that martial arts is your full-time job and your school does at least $10,000 a month in revenue and you want to grow your school organically, that means not depending on Facebook ads or Google ads, and you want to grow your school through schools, daycares, and businesses. I teach people how to do that through what I call the Triangle Codex. It's what many of my clients have used, and you can see testimonials and see how it works on doubleyourdojo.com. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Yes, sir. Thank you.